We'll start off with the first question.
All right. So, what inspired your robotics team to develop into the world of robotics, and how has that initial inspiration shaped your journey so far?
Yeah, so our journey started back in FOL. So I'm relatively newer to our team actually. So my teammate Veer, he started the team I think way back in elementary school or middle school, something like that. Um, we were originally an FLL team called KookyBots, I think back then. And over time, yeah, he transitioned to FTC. I think first competing in Skystone, I want to say, or like Recovery, one of those. Um, that's kind of how we got started. We just yeah, a long time ago, and now kind of here we are now. So I joined the team um, last year during the power play season. So I was originally on another team here, Great Frenzy. We met at MTI, and here we are now. So at least for me, I wanted to get into robotics because I wanted another kind of chance to explore and use programming in a way I wasn't previously exposed to. I'm super big on using it for math and physics. I love building simulations and things like that. And this just gave me another outlet to kind of apply it and use it in a different way and learn a lot. And this is a fun competition, so I can't really complain.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What kind of simulation do you usually try doing?
Yeah, so on my own time, I like to build more like simulations in like the fluid space. So lots of CFD stuff, and also just some particle physics. In terms of the robotic space, though, a lot of this, so every bit of software I've ever built on the robot has been rigorously simulated and tested before actually being ran. So an example of this is with any of our like computer vision models. That's all done in simulation beforehand, going through rigorous lighting testing, whatever it is, edge cases. Uh, Another thing I did is because our robots center of mass gets so distributed to one side of the bot when we're scoring, which just makes it hard for our robot to drive and strafe, and also for our arm to rotate effectively. Uh, I made this whole physics model which can calculate our robot's center of mass given any like position, orientation it's in, and based on that compensate pretty much. So my goal this year has been to try and physically represent every kind of state of the robot using just math and computer science, and using that then make tools and things to compensate stuff.
That's impressive.
That's actually awesome. No, I feel good. Well, okay. You said that you are quite new to the team, but from the from when you entered the team, can you uh, have your team stumbled upon a challenge or an obstacle doing your projects? And if you did, how did you overcome?
Yeah, so I think the number one biggest challenge that our team faces, and I'll just provide a little bit more context about this. So our team is a three-person team. We're a community team, so we're not based at a high school. We are all high schoolers right now. So I'm a senior. Um, my teammate Veer, our captain and hardware person, he's a sophomore, and then his sister Thea, who's our business and outreach, she is also a senior. So our biggest issue our team always faces is definitely in the member count department, and it's not necessarily the member count; it's the implications of having barely any team members. Trying to distribute workload and be effective with time management is so crucial, so important because when you're trying to innovate and make the next big bot, and you gotta make all these big sacrifices and all these problems come your way. It's very taxing. Um, so I think that's the biggest thing. It was the same thing last year too. We wanted to. That was the first time we ran a coaxial sort of drivetrain in a competitive manner, uh, and to get all that to work was just so much time. And if we had just maybe a few more members, that would have been a little bit nicer on all of our schedules. But it happened. It's fine.
So you just don't try to recruit any new members, or like
Yeah.
I
So
think if KookyBots was recruiting a lot of people would have been interested.
Yeah, so um, the deal with that is our team is very specialized in the sense that we all kind of stick to our tasks and our own skill sets and just go crazy there. And our team flow works really well that way. Yeah, it does suck sometimes having all the work distributed onto just yourself, uh, but that's just the nature of our team, and it's worked that way. And we are based out of a garage, and frankly, with all of us going off to college very soon, it's hard for us to have any sustainability in a house that we won't be staying in for much longer, because we'll be gone all over the country and maybe across the world. So I will add one thing on that real quick. Um, on my old team, uh, I started FTC at Frenzy. On my old team, that was through my high school. I do miss a lot the outreach events and actually actively recruiting kids. That is one thing I've tried to focus a lot on this year is going to schools and showcasing the robot, talking about FTC. Even if it's not for recruitment, being able to kind of see the smile on kids' faces when they enjoy it and explore robotics, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we actually had quite uh, an event where it was also going to different.
Oh, Pepper's Christmas
Yeah,
Special. Yeah, so I went to that event, me and some colleagues, and we went to schools and presented STEAM education to little kids ranging from grade 1 to 8. Yeah, and we went to 6 schools and we talked with over 800 students.
That's
So,
pretty cool. I have always admired about the Romanian FTC community how much like dedication there is there to trying to spread STEM and get it out there. Seeing the Romanian teams of worlds and at the Maryland Tech Invitational, there's always so many people, cameras everywhere, people all over the place, and it's all super cool to see that.
yeah, and also the fact that even if it's not about FTC, uh, we also mentor and federate
first Lego League.
the first Lego team, two of them actually, and it's a different feeling seeing them. Uh, uh, the excitement when it comes to different things. Like this year, it was all about art, and every kid was trying to add different hobbies of their own into the palettes, and it was just
Yeah.
nice seeing how everybody tried to express their feeling. Just an awesome way of trying to connect with others uh, while mentoring them. We try doing a peer-to-peer, and it's nice seeing how everything just ties together and how it's building the uh, relationship between master and I don't know, child.
Yeah, I get what
Yeah.
you're saying. I think the mentorship, trying to like at least provide mentorship, has always been so gratifying, so fun. And there's always one thing that I wish, with a small team like ours, we're not the best awards team per se. We can't offer a ton of mentorship because we have to deal with the constraints of having small members and trying to focus all on robot because we don't have time for anything else. But that is one of the things I always wish I had more time for is reaching out and helping other people. And I do get a lot of messages about that. Like just yesterday, I met with a team from Australia and was able to talk with them for about an hour or so. And like it's the little things like that, at least being able to get out there, kind of just talk about it, and inspire others is always so important. It just does so much for them down the road when they can talk to people who kind of know what they're doing, um, people who are involved in FTC, just like yourselves, and be inspired and want to explore a career path or a hobby like that someday. It's just so important.
Yeah. Well, moving on. While you said that your KookyBots is very small, and in a field often dominated by advanced technologies, how do you balance the innovation with the resources available?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think from a time perspective, I've gotten I've done very poorly on. At least for me, I always kind of pride myself on wanting to build new technologies and innovate. So speaking from a software perspective, all of the stuff on a robot, almost all of it is custom. Um, I have always found more kind of enjoyment in FTC when I'm not using pre-built code that other people have made, any technology that other people have done. Um, Being able to kind of innovate on it and work on it myself and create it has been so cool. Uh, and that does have a lot of drawbacks with it, like trying to, like I mentioned that physics model I made a while back. Like that did take a lot of time to perfect and get right. But in the end, it was so worth it because I learned so much about physics, somehow more than I did in school. I don't know how that makes sense, but it was a great experience. Um, I think definitely that's one of the things that our team will always like continue to do, despite this being our last year. There's still a lot of things planned, but it's just to keep innovating, keep making new things. We always try and set cool challenges for ourselves, like having a 6-inch robot, just the fun things we do. So that sort of thing.
Yeah, you said that you like to write code of your own instead of using the code that everyone else is just using, because it's more enjoyable. But you say that it's more innovative. Uh, well, how do you know if what you've written is better than what was already there? Like,
Yeah. So I'll speak from the first thing I can think of, which is probably Roadrunner. And that's I'll just provide context for that just for the sake of it.
all right,
So Roadrunner is a software library at FTC that you can use to plan out the emotions of your robot and predefine where your robot will go, how fast it will be going. And with a system like that, yeah, it is nice in the sense that it takes care of a lot of the heavy math for you, a lot of the stuff that will take you like forever to tune and get right. It has a lot of really cool documentation for it. Um, at the same time, a lot of systems like that have a lot of just overhead, excess systems running in the background that are just unnecessary. Uh, when you're trying to run a robot at its maximum constraints, I've found that using libraries like that, which are dedicated to trying to physically represent your robot by limiting acceleration, the velocity, the deceleration, everything, I found that they often do slow things down. Um, and again, that's at least in my experience. I know other people others have had better success with using libraries like that. So at least for us, I've been able to create some pretty cool pathing software. It's similar to Roadrunners, um, but it has given us a lot more flexibility for things like obstacle detection or just avoidance of robots and just little things like that, which are things that I wouldn't have gotten if I went with Roadrunner. So there is some cool opportunities for innovation within that when you're making custom things like that, which are so worth it. Enjoy that.
all right. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. But talking about the rookie teams, how did you guys do as a rookie team? How did you get your funds? And yeah, how did you manage to build your first robot? Even though you said you had experience from a previous team, did everybody in the team have experience from before?
So, two perspectives here. I'll talk about my previous team first. So,
All right.
previously, yeah, that was a much bigger team. We had an actual outreach business team, sets of people to do different tasks. Unlike now, where it's just one person for each category. Uh, with a school-funded team, it was a lot easier because, yeah, despite having veterans and things like that that were used to the program and have been around for a while, uh, being on a school-funded team allowed us to get funds a little bit easier than most. So compared to our team now, um, I can't speak on it too much from the rookie perspective since the team's been around, I think, for 3 or so more years than I have been on it. Um, but at least speaking from now, uh, I know that funds and things like that are just so important to us because we are an out-of-pocket team pretty much. So all the money comes from us unless they're sponsors. Um, and trying to sell yourself to a company as like a three-person team is sometimes difficult. Sometimes they don't see the sustainability aspect of it. Um, but we find ways to get around that. You gotta sometimes showcase the stats and world ranking and things like that. And, it gets better, but
Yeah. I was wondering how is it hard for you to obtain sponsorization from companies, even though you have such a good performance in FTC. Yeah.
yeah. So we do have issues sometimes with the whole like we're not a huge team thing. I know some companies do tend to have a bias towards like larger and more sustainable programs, which is completely understandable. Um, for us, uh, we have like so our robot is made entirely out of carbon fiber, for example. That would not have been possible without like a local drone shop giving us money to be able to do that. And definitely trying to sell ourselves as an innovative team because that's I think what we are. I think it's what we pride ourselves on is trying to break new heights in FTC, break the skill barrier, um, and just be unique. And I think, frankly, being a unique robot and a unique team is also what is a really good selling point for us, at least. Um, because once we also get their sponsorship money, then we can do a lot more cooler things with them. So
All right. Another interesting question for the rookie teams. You said that you had experience previously from another team, but first, do the other members from KookyBots, like the two other persons, had experience from before, or you were the only one experienced in FTC?
so so the team our FTC team has existed for I think 6 years now.
Oh, so you just joined.
Yeah, so I joined in the power play season during the summer. So right after Great Frenzy ended, I joined KookyBots. After competing at the Maryland Tech Invitational, both of our teams were there during Great Frenzy. Uh, we got sat next to each other on the plane ride back to Washington, where we're from, and he actually recruited me to join his team on the plane back, which is pretty funny. So yeah, I had to give it a lot of thought. I think one of the biggest things was going back to the sponsorship thing was definitely the whole funds issue. Trying to fund a team out of pocket is obviously a lot more taxing than having a big organization and a school team to back you up and give you funds. Um, I think it was worth it though. I mean, at the end of the day, uh, leaving my old team and being able to take all of the tasks on myself taught me more than I think I would have if I'd stayed. Uh, trying to, I think this is one of the biggest things for me is trying to fit yourself just to like one specific task can be so limiting sometimes because you need to branch out and really explore all the other options. Um, so on my original team, I focused primarily on computer vision, just using it to detect the freight and our team elements. And then now that I'm on KookyBots, I actually have an opportunity to explore math and physics. One of my passions, not just computer vision. Whatever it is, all sorts of cool control theory concepts. So it's been worth it in the end. I think it's been a really interesting opportunity that is one of those kind of like once in a lifetime opportunities, and you got to take advantage of it when it comes around. So
Well, as a high school student involved in robotics, how do you guys try managing your time effectively between academia and building robots. Like for us, from personal experience, uh, I am also on my first year. I'm a rookie. It's quite hard for me to have time and for school and for robotics. It's
Mhm.
I wake up at 4 a.m., go at school, make my homework, do school till like I don't know 2 a.m. and then from 2 a.m. to like 7 or 9 p.m. I stay at school.
Mhm.
And just once I get home, instantly going to sleep and the cycle repeats. It's hard for me to manage my grades and also trying to be helpful in any kind for the team in general. So for your team being this small, I imagine being 10 times more difficult trying to do anything at all.
Mhm. Yeah, that has been one of the kind of biggest, I don't know if drawback is the right word here. Biggest drawback of our team is definitely trying to focus on academics at the same time. Um, as I mentioned, I'm a senior. Last year I was a junior, and with that, trying to make sure my grades were good for junior year, while also doing good at FTC and wanting to, do awesome in competition, was very difficult. Uh, I think that's one of the things where I had to, at least in my position, I had to make a bit of a decision, pretty early on, that I could either put it all into FTC and maybe get good grades. I'm a good student, but I could get goodish grades, um, or try and split my focus and attention between the two, prioritizing a little bit less to FTC. Um, Ultimately, I did actually make the decision to focus basically all in on FTC. The reason for that was because I saw I felt like I could learn more than I was in class. And at the time, I was taking like my first physics class, I think in my junior year, and going into robotics and then learning 10 times more the next day, um, was just I felt like I was kind of wasting a little bit of time. Um, and it's not to say that's like the best mindset per se. I think from an overall time management perspective, um, definitely trying to split the time between academics and robotics is it's extremely difficult. Um, for a lower level team, and when you're trying to just get started in FTC, sometimes that can be a little bit easier. But I know in the cases of a lot of top teams, they've also had this kind of problem with academics and robotics. Um, I in the past I've tried to kind of find the right blend, between academics and FTC. And sometimes it's as simple as just saying like, "Hey, I gotta take a break from FTC and robotics." And I've said that exact same thing before, um, in our group chat. But because sometimes it's all about your priorities. I think at the end of the day, um, how you manage your time is kind of up to you. And if you want to focus on robotics, then that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go crazy there. Uh, So yeah, it's all about priorities, what you want to do, and what matters the most to you. I think in my mind at least.
So did robotics help you excel at some subjects while dragging you down to others?
Yeah, I think for me specifically, it was, and this is fairly obvious given I'm kind of into the programming and technical side of things. Uh, English and history definitely hit the hardest for me, uh, compared to science and math, because in science and math, obviously, I'm actively applying a lot of those concepts in robotics, and things I learned. Um, I did often find it difficult, and at least from my perspective, I'm a fast learner, um, so I did find it difficult trying to kind of like learn in school at the same time while also being like, can I actively spend time better elsewhere. And yeah, maybe that's not the best mindset because it did drag me down a lot more than I wanted. Yeah, I don't know if that really answers the question at all, but
But I wonder, what since your team is so small, the things you learn, no, I said it, you learn more things compared to other members of other teams, since uh, you are small, your team is small, and you do more than others, and you don't rely on other people like mentors. As and in the end, that benefits you a lot.
yeah, I think there's two things I want to touch on here. Is mentors are actually a huge part of our success. Um, I'll name drop them. A boss, Jane, who does a lot of these stuff for First Events now, is basically like the best mentor we have. Um, he's been so actively involved with us, and he has a really good mechanical engineering background. And without someone like him who has good time management skills and support, our team would probably not be as far as we've gotten this year. So mentors are definitely a very big component of our success. What was the other thing you mentioned? Sorry.
That you being just one person working on something specific,
Oh,
you learn more than others and have a big advantage and helps you go further in life.
yeah. So that was actually something I was taking into consideration when um, switching teams to KookyBots. Was the kind of like what will I gain out of this team that I won't get on my old team? And it was that exact same thing. It's these skills and um, innovating in general and trying new things that I wouldn't have done that previously. Um, and that's not to say like my old team wasn't capable. It was just a matter of this is a different opportunity and a different way to apply and learn these new skills um, due to small team members. Really getting to try out every single path and software. I think definitely people can always explore on their own in their old teams. Um, Speaking from perspective of my last team, I think going to FTC, I wasn't super guided on where to go, which definitely made it a lot more difficult for me to figure out what I wanted to learn, what I needed to learn, how to get there. I wasn't. I don't know. I think. I don't know what the word is. I wasn't very kind of like confident in myself and my ability to keep learning and grow without the help of someone staring over my shoulder the entire time. Um, and I think if I had those same skills that I do now, where I can learn a lot more independently, um, would be very important on my old team. And I think all the learning you can get over time is always so crucial and beneficial. Um, so yeah, there are things I wish I could kind of go back and change, but ultimately, I mean, I think I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. So.
Is there any advice you would give to rookie teams, since you are so experienced and you went through many teams and you've seen a lot of perspectives over the FTC?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is honestly just making sure you're having fun. Like at the end of the day, it's cliche enough, but it's something that people don't take into consideration. Um, at Worlds, so my team qualified for my previous team. I was qualified for World Chicken Free Frenzy, and the amount of tension and stress going on there just made the experience not very enjoyable. Um, and I feel like that's a really hard thing to say about the World Championship is that it was hard to enjoy. Uh, the one team that always comes to mind though that I remember just is having fun the entire time is Don't Blink during power play. Um, for us, we actually shared a conference with them. We had a field with us at Worlds that we practiced the entire time. They were laughing and giggling until like 2 a.m. every single night, and I mean, they had a great time, and they obviously won worlds, so that was pretty good for them. And as soon as you kind of start, I feel like to stop enjoying FTC and take it too seriously to the point where it's like a bad thing, it doesn't make the program enjoyable anymore. It makes it so much more harder to grow and learn. And frankly, that's the other thing I think a lot of people need to focus on is learning. It's like setting goals for yourself. Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself at the end of whatever the 4 years you're in FTC or 5, whatever? Not just going in there and having no plans, no ideas of anything you want to do. If you can walk in, know what you're going to do, set goals for yourself, set priorities. It's the same thing back I said earlier. It's about like priorities between school and robotics. Like, what do you want to learn? What do you have to do to get yourself to that point? For me, it was I wanted to go into college feeling technologically advanced, feeling well knowledgeable in math and science. So my route for that was to focus more on robotics. I'm still a high school student, but I'm taking college classes right now. So I'm doing college math. So I'm just pushing myself as much as I can because that's where I want to be. That's where I want to put myself before I go off into college and start doing research, innovating on different things. There's so much opportunity there.
Well, robotics in general is something that tries to evolve as much as possible and as rapid as possible. So how do you guys stay updated on the latest advancements and try to integrate them in your robot?
Yeah, so in terms of FTC at least, I know that we're always very, very up to date on any technological changes going on at FTC. My whole team is active online, on the Reddit, on the FTC Discord, any forums, the Q&A forum, everything. So if anything technologically advanced happens there, we're probably one of the first people to hear about it. Unless of course you have an NDA signed and you're confidential. But yeah, we try and we try and keep up to date on those sort of things. So I think the biggest things, at least talking in terms of FTC again, that I was looking forward to this season was the April tags being added. That was a really good step for FTC in the right direction. And I know I think in 2027 they're planning to revamp the whole control system, which is going to be really cool. I think it's FTC's gone through a lot of change in the past few years, switching from phones to control hubs and expansion hubs to driver hubs, and getting another pivotal changes. It'll be annoying in the sense that some people's software might not work anymore. They'll have to switch to FRC libraries and things like that. But it's a good step. It'll kind of level the playing out and feel that a lot more. I think speaking a little bit more outside of FTC and exploring those resources and concepts, when I'm doing homework on the daily basis, I'll usually always have a YouTube video up and running of just something science and math related. Just learning some sort of concept. Someone released a new paper, I'll just be reading it while I'm doing homework. Multitasking is a terrible idea, and I don't recommend it, but it's fun. So I'm actively always trying to see what other people are innovating on and seeing where the application for whatever they did, if it exists in robotics. If this is something that I can build myself and try and use, if it's worth it, if it's worth the time, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of ways I try and kind of keep up to date and at least explore and use different concepts. So
I thought up an interesting question. Do you do outside projects outside of the FTC team other than simulations you have previously told about?
yeah, so one of the kind of goals I had for myself, again, back to this whole priorities thing, before I went off to college, is having kind of like a bit of a diverse portfolio. So kind of one of those things I wanted to do was explore like web dev, website development. So that's gone pretty well. It's not my most favorite thing in the world. I definitely enjoy math and science and all that a lot more. Another thing is, uh, since it's a little bit harder for me to kind of be involved in the FTC community compared to like my previous team where I could like do a lot of outreach events and things like that. I've tried to find ways to give back, um, non-FTC related now. So I have an internship with a charity in California where we make some pretty cool just software for them and for kids in hospitals who are in need. Um, trying to make sure they can enjoy their time in the hospital with like games and get the resources and things, whatever they need to enjoy the experience and things. And that's been super gratifying.
That's absolutely awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super fun. I'm happy I at least have a platform to help give back to the community one way or another. At least doing something I'm passionate about. I think trying to, in a lot of cases, speaking away from robotics, in schools when they have like mandatory volunteer hours and things like that, when kids are doing like the bare minimum tasks to try and reach those, like I don't know, breaking leaves outside, cleaning up trash. Like if you are passionate about it and enjoy it and are able to benefit others, I think that's super important always.
You said that you did some kind of software where kids could play games and enjoy their time there. Have you tried making a game?
Yeah, so I actually got exposed to programming through game development. Um, so there's a game engine out there. I'll just speak on it loosely here. Unity, a really good game engine. That was kind of my first experience with coding. Um, I remember opening up Visual Studio for the first time and coding in C Sharp, and it was so daunting and so scary. But that was how I actually got involved with like and found physics interesting too. Being able to drag and drop components on objects and see them fall, have gravity apply to them, collision detection, all that sort of thing. It was so cool, and that little boost at the beginning was kind of what inspired me to kind of get where I am today. Um, if I didn't do that, then I probably would have just been, your standard old high school video game kid, just going home, doing video games, going back the next day on my phone the entire time. So at least I have something good to do with my time. So.
Yeah, that was a great start.
Actually, for me also the first experience with programming was game development. I also started on Unity. First off, tried it on 3D. I was quite little, and it was hard for me to try to add physics and everything, so I just gave up. And 5 years later, I said, okay, I'm gonna try again. This time I'm going to go with 2D, and from there, I have more of a chance. I try doing this every day, and it helped me so much understand. And like for you, I think it's the difference between you and the rest of the class is immense. Is just you can't compare yourself to others. In your for you, I think it's completely different. The how you cannot even compare to others. It's just from what I hear, you do amazing stuff.
Yeah, I always try and break what's possible when I can and try and do some cool things. Um, there's only so much time in the day, so you can't do it all. But I like to try and make a difference when I can. Um, I think it is cool just going back real quick that you mentioned the whole 2D to 3D like whole journey you've had. That was very similar to what I have. Like, started 3D with Unity, then going down to 2D, downscaling, learning a lot, then upscaling. Then when I started switching to um, like simulation and actually making everything myself. I started off in 3D. Things just don't work. Downscale to 2D. Things work really well, and then work your way back again.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you started with making games. Now you are part of an FTC team, but um, how do you explore your passion and work with math, physics, and programming besides the FTC? Like, do you have any other interests where you use your skills to get stuff done? You mentioned something even about an assos an event or company where you help kids with hours. You mentioned it earlier. I don't remember really well.
Yeah. So obviously, math first, and FTC is a great outlet for trying to apply math and science. And that's probably where I would say I'm the most involved in terms of trying to learn and apply that. The charity I work with is one of the biggest.
Charity, yeah, that was.
Yeah. With them, I wouldn't say it's too much about applying math and science, but more about computer science, which is overall my overarching greatest passion. And building the software and the websites for the parents and foundations so they can donate and get a more exposure to these charities is pretty cool. I wouldn't say aside from that I have too much else going on. I try to. I'm not super big on, at least in the context of like projects or not projects, sorry. In terms of like activities and extracurriculars going on outside of school, I'm not too fond of getting like 20 activities. I know a lot of kids try and do that for college applications. They do as much as they can. But I think a lot of people also take for granted the advantages of sticking to a few things, getting really good at them, and then that's going to be even more rewarding when you have more stuff to show for it than just, oh, I founded X club and then had Y members show up, but like what else came out of the club? There's a lot more at play there than just kind of trying to add things to your resume of activities and whatnot. You got to make sure you're involved and or at least making an impact when you can. That's something I try and at least value a lot. Is this something that's like beneficial to me? Is this something I value? With the charity, it is something that I feel is beneficial to me. Web dev is not my favorite thing, but I try to learn it a little bit here and there, and I can do that with the charity. And I mean, it benefits kids, so I can't complain too much there.
So you are going more on the idea of master of jack of all no.
Yeah.
There was a saying, jack of all trades, master of none. You think it's more important mastering something than being good at everything?
I think going to college and having a diverse portfolio of things it's important. You want to make sure you have that. I would say I do. I explore different projects and do different things. Like I play sports outside of this, and losing my train of thought real quick. Hold on. I think being able to go into college and down the road into jobs and be already a master at something is it's incredibly important. You want to have a lot of skills. That's something I want to clarify here. You want to explore different things and be good at different things. A lot of things that never hurts at all. But being good at a few things and hobbies you enjoy, whatever, can do a lot for you. For me, the math and CS and the physics side of it, I've tried to put all my effort into. It's paying off. So, but at the same time, things like writing and other random skills like that, I've definitely, I'm good at. Like I've practiced technical writing, um, writing papers. It's all the little things like that which add up. Um, so yeah, again, I think it's how you want to prioritize and how you want to kind of where you want to be down the road. You want to be good at one thing. You want to be good at lots of many things. I think in my past, only recently have I actually gotten, I would say, good at like a few select items. Um, Actually, back when I was starting in game development, that was when I was, learning Python and visuals, Pygame. I first started doing HTML and CSS, all sorts of things. And I had this little bit of like crisis internally as I was going to um, high school, where I was like, okay, what do I want to do now? What do I want to stick with? What do I want to go into college feeling confident about and um, understanding well? And I enjoy math and physics the most. Computer science I obviously loved. So that's kind of where I chose to put all my effort and energy into. So
All right, but in the beginning, how did you learn all you know? All you know, how did you learn from the beginning all you know now? Do some teachers teach you that, or did you just search the subject that you were interested in on the internet? Like I know when you try to learn web development, you can find a lot of resources on the internet, and they are also really well structured. But when trying to find the same resources from math and physics, I find it quite hard to get into something that is really well structured and easy to follow. How did you learn to? Yeah, how did you
yeah,
learn?
yeah. So one of the kind of biggest things, at least for me, when I was starting with like computer vision on my old team, is I was just like trying to just like type in everything I could find online. But that wasn't guided. Like I didn't have any people telling me. I didn't have a good mentor back then. I didn't have people who could point me in the right direction. Um, Now I think mentors have been crucial to pointing me where I should learn, where I should focus on, because they're obviously experienced. They've gone through this before, have the knowledge um, that you kind of aspire to have. Uh, I think it's honestly been like the number one thing for me at least is having that backbone of knowledge right there that can tell me where I should focus and where I should learn from is huge. Uh, the other thing is, at least more recently, where I've kind of wanted to do math and physics, is I've tried to get a lot better at reading like technical papers, um, and like the real hard ones where it's like just the deepest math and science you can get right there, uh, the bare bones lingo, and that's also been super cool because at the same time, while trying to figure out how to understand these super crazy math concepts um, and these papers, I'm also kind of understanding uh, this writing and type of writing that I'll actually probably apply down the road when I hopefully can partake in research and whatnot. So again, it's like there are some like things I try and find the resources when I can. When I first learned game development, that was finding a channel called Brackeys on YouTube and learning the small tutorials here and there, and eventually putting it all together in one thing. So there's lots of little things that yeah, put it all together. But
Breaking off everything and random question a little bit.
yeah,
There is a rumor going that the next season might be something that involves water. What's your opinion on this?
It's a joke.
I've seen a lot of those like animations played at those events recently. I don't entirely know what to think of it, honestly, because they've kind of been dragging the FTT community along for a long time now, and the first community as a whole, I guess. They're always like, water this, water that, trying to show leaks at Worlds, and there's like droplets of water. People are like, oh, water game.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, to be fair, every game recently has like they've had aspects related to the name and to the concept, but they're also coming out of like left field with these most random ideas. Like everyone was thinking center stage would be a shooter style game where you have something to shoot in the middle, like in FRC, you have a big
Yeah.
dome in the middle, you know shoot into it, whatever. Um, and this was no one expected. It's
Yeah.
completely beyond what everyone thought it would be. Um, so I don't know. It could really go anywhere at this point.
In my opinion, it will be cooler if there was something to shoot other than
Yeah.
placing pixels.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I always was a little annoyed about was that um, as I went into high school, so I was not aware of FTC at all beforehand. Um, there wasn't like obviously, like I said, there's an FTC team at my high school, and going into my freshman year was right during the peak of like COVID-19. So I did not have a chance to explore like the clubs or activities, and thus did not learn about robotics. And that was obviously during the Ultimate Goal season, which is the last time a shooter was played. I'm always a little annoyed that this season was not a shooter because I've learned so much over the past few years. It would have been cool to have a swerve bot with auto aiming turrets and all that. So
Will you be in the team next year, or you will go to college?
So as for me and Thea, we are both going off to college. I don't know where she's going. I don't know where I'm going yet. And most of the acceptances come out or decisions, sorry, come out in the next few weeks. So we'll be on our toes for that. As for Veer, I can't speak too confidently on what his plan is. I think as a whole, the team is, I think, shutting down. It sucks that it has to end. But frankly, there's like, he has priorities. We all have things we want to do. And I think he's been doing FTC for near 10 years now, I want to say. Or not, like been involved in first. So he's gotten so much out of this program. And he has obviously things he wants to focus on. So which is totally fair. I think having priorities and whatnot is fantastic. So
I bet you have some great experience and great memories you have made on these years.
yeah, I think one of the biggest things, at least that kind of it was a mess. Was when we were competing in New Mexico last year during the power play season. Um, on the flight down to the state championship, which is where we actually did qualifying for Worlds from. The airline lost our robot, which was not a fun experience at all. So going back to having insane mentors, a boss and Veer's dad drove all the way to Arizona and back to try and get the bot from another airport and transport over here, which was like a 12-hour drive, and it was just like gotta give props to them. They don't get enough thanks and appreciation for the hard time and dedication they put into this, and to us also. So
Well, that's really impressive.
yeah.
Can't imagine it.
I don't want to ever have that happen again. It was not fun. Ever since that happened, we like I think we actually did for this too. We've like put air tags and every bit of tracking we can on the bot, making sure nothing ever happens again where that could cause this. The running theory at the time, and this is obviously not confirmed, but the running theory was that the battery left in the bot caused them to like take the whole bot out of the case and be like, okay, what's this? Why is this big battery in here?
Yeah.
And maybe someone just forgot to put it back on the conveyor belt. I don't know, but so that's what happened with that. But we got the bot and then won, so I can't complain too much. It was a very stressful experience. And I don't wish it upon anyone else at FTC.
All right. Over all these years, what is the most important thing you learned from FTC? And if you could start over again, what would you change in your life? Uh, I bet you would still take part in KookyBots, but anyway, what would you change?
Yeah, I think I was always pretty lost as a student and as just a general kid as to where I wanted to be. And I've mentioned this a ton of times, but setting goals for myself from the start would have been so much more beneficial than just being lost, confused, and misguided as to what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. Um, and I think if I could start it all over again and be more aware of the resources out there, where to look for them, uh, I would, I think, be in a, not just saying a much better place, but back then I would have been much more well off as opposed to learning these skills more recently, within the last year or two, uh, because yeah, otherwise that wouldn't have happened. Um, so those priorities and goals are so important. Going into college, that's the same kind of mindset I want to apply. I want to be like, okay, what internships do I want to do? Where do I want to work? Where do I see myself? Um, so I'm glad I've gotten these skills over the last years, but it would have been nice to start it over again and focus on things I would want to enjoy and whatnot.
Yeah. And what's the most important thing you learned from ITC?
Yeah. Overall, I think the biggest thing there's kind of it's just being a part of a team. There's so many dynamics at play. Um, I've had a 10 plus person team and I've had a 3-person team, and ultimately being able to adapt and work around all the limitations people have, everything going on. It's so important. It's a skill that will be so useful down the road and in the industry when people aren't getting their work done or you're behind. You just got to work around challenges. Um, and that's one of the things that I can always kind of be happy about and pride myself on is that I gave myself the platform to face different problems. In the team dynamic department and just in general too. Uh, with the larger team, there's all sorts of challenges there, and the smaller team, where we have to be a lot more like kind of closely intertwined with each other. We work in close quarters the entire time, um, and yeah, I think just making sure you're having fun and enjoying everyone is just huge and being adaptable. So.
Yeah. Um, hmm. Oh, if you would have to choose a song to represent your team, what would that song be?
Oh gosh, I
That
think
might be a little unspoken.
the one song that I think is most commonly associated with our team right now is "Spinnin'" by Connor Price. It was the song that we used in our I think it was either our Swerve reveal video or our Power Play Robot reveal video. Um, but the amount of people I've seen listening to it on Spotify and like online communities now because of it is just it's hilarious. Um, so I think that's the one song that if I had to pick one to represent our team, it would be that. So.
Okay, and in the end, do you have anything to say to the international teams that might watch this or might listen?
Yeah. I think overall, I think just being involved in the community is so important. Um, I do admire a lot. This is directly, but I do admire a lot of the kind of involvement that the international teams have in FTC. Is I'm actually going out to Romania and for the national championship, and that like wouldn't have happened if I didn't meet all sorts of people at these competitions in Houston and MTI. Um, the fact that this is such a diverse community is so cool. It's so important, and I think it's what makes FTC so special. So.
Yeah, connecting with people is truly something else.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's just amazing hearing this as a rookie. I don't have words to explain what I'm feeling right now, but I'm just purely amazed and full of respect of what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you just kind of set yourself to your goals and be happy to join FTC for what it is, you can get so far with it. You just gotta kind of involve yourself and push yourself out there, and you can do some really cool things. So a lot of people have done some crazy things because of this program. There's teams competing on BattleBots right now, all over the place. So there's all sorts of cool things that can come out if you just set your mind to it and get things done.
Yeah, you truly talked really, really impressive, and hearing you
Thank you.
also inspired me. Like, yeah, it was awesome. Your
Thank you, I
experience
appreciate
truly inspired both of us, and I'm sure it will inspire everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. This has been a fun podcast. I loved it.
Thank you too for coming, Mason.
Yep,
And
of course,
thank you
of
as
course.
well. It was a nice opportunity having to hear your story, everything you have done. Just
Thank you.
thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. I look forward to seeing you guys soon in national championship, hopefully.
We do as well. I think that's about it. Thank you again and have a great day.
Of course, you too. You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.